Yeah, perfect. Cool. Got a thumbs up. So yes, I'm Emily. I am the group product manager at Yoti. So I sit across our strategic product development and speak regularly with governments, regulators, and our customers to look at what we should be developing next. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about how we are building trust and really focusing on that within the digital ID space. So, firstly, digital identity holds some incredible promise. So it means faster, smoother access to online services, less fraud, safer spaces online, especially for younger people. And instead of handing over too much personal data, or when you're proving your age in the supermarket, for example, and kind of showing that you're over 18, you're kind of showing everyone your whole identity. And so you're showing them your address, your name, your date of birth. But with digital identity, you can simply prove what's needed. So whether you're over 18 with an age credential in seconds. But that convenience comes with some real challenges. So we're talking privacy, regulation, trust, and how do we make sure that the products and the tools that we're building to protect people don't accidentally expose them or expose their data when they haven't consented to that. So at Yoti, our approach is to put privacy and transparency at the center of our development. So we design our systems so that users stay in control of their own data, sharing only what's necessary, and our age and identity checks use privacy preserving technology. So we work very closely with regulators and experts to meet the highest standards of compliance. So ultimately, it's about balance, innovation with integrity, and being able to use digital identity in a way that can transform everyday life, but in a way that people can trust it. And so our job at Yoti is to build that trust, and that's what I'm going to be speaking a little bit about today. Uh, so, a little bit about what we actually do. So, this slide kind of sums up what we do best. And so, we give organizations a way to verify who their customers are, both online and in person, in a way that's fast, secure, and is also privacy preserving for the individual that's proving their age or their identity. So, instead of asking people to hand over piles of information, we let them share just what's needed. A lot of that time, that could just be their age to access, an age-restricted service. But it could be a full identity check, like a right to work or a right to rent. And so Yoti is approved and trusted by the UK Home Office for proof of age. We're certified to the UK Trust Scheme. We're actually the first identity company to be certified. And so when we verify someone, we are verifying against a government issued ID and or a selfie or an age assessment. And so that way businesses know that they're dealing with a real verified person and not a bot or, a Gen AI created individual. And so behind all of that, we use secure encryption, privacy designed by technology, meaning that the data is always protected and stored on the user's device. Um, so I guess in short, it's really about giving users a way to simply and in a trustworthy way prove who they are, whilst also giving organizations the confidence that that verification has been done in full compliance with whatever government standard they're aiming for. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what makes us different and in terms of how we really focus on privacy within our technology and the architecture there. So this slide kind of explains how our systems are built. So rather than having some big central database where, all everyone's personal information is stored, that, if we get hacked, it can just, it's all there for the taking. That is the opposite of how we are built. So when someone creates a Yoti account, their information is stored on their device and only they can access that information. So one of the things that I was a bit surprised about when I first joined the OT several years ago now is that if we wanted to send, a marketing email to all of our users, we would not be able to do that because we can't access the information of the user's personal information without their consent. So we do not and are not able to access that, which I found kind of mind blowing at the time. Um, but actually, it means that our users really have that high level of trust. They know that they are in control of their personal information. All that data is securely encrypted on their device. When we do age estimation, all of the data is immediately, deleted. We don't store any of that information. And so I think part of this architecture just really enforces our commitment to bringing trust into our products and making sure that we're transparent with users and we only ever share the minimum of what is needed. I wanted also just to call out some of our credentials in this space. So we're built from a robust ethical framework. So we achieved B Corp status. For those of you that are familiar with B Corp, back in 2015, and we have 7 core principles that guide everything that we do. And we have a Guardians Council that is made up of experts, and human rights experts as well. And they really hold us to account. And anything that new that we're developing, we will take it to them to get their feedback. We regularly engage with international standards bodies, online safety organizations, as part of our commitment to improving online safety and reducing fraud. And it also means that we can then help shape those age appropriate experiences online and how those are delivered. So again, some of these are just some of the organizations that we're part of. We uphold a number of, well, all of these various frameworks and standards. Um, but yeah, that's something that's really important to us. Oh, before I jump ahead, so this is just some of our customers. I always find this like quite interesting because it's such a mix. So you've got some of the huge tech companies, you've got Meta, Instagram, you've got governments, you've got, companies like OnlyFans, you've got the NSPCC, Childline, and so it's really, such a broad range of customers. It's, anyone that's trying to create age appropriate experiences online, but it's not just that, it's also looking at right to work. It could be looking at staff credentials so that you've got a staff credential that you can issue to your teams. And so I just wanted to go through a couple of the different use cases and products that we've built for our customers that kind of illustrate that broad spectrum. Cool. So this is the first one. So one of the products that we have is an age estimation tool. And so online, if someone is aware of an inappropriate image of themselves or of a friend, then they can report that to be removed. And legally, that platform or that site that's hosting the image has to remove that. But in order to remove it, the user has to prove that they are under 18. And so that's obviously quite it's already a stressful process for the user or the person. And so we provide our age estimation technology to be able to very quickly, easily, and in a streamlined way allow that person to prove that they're under 18 without having to find a passport or a driving license. They're not going to have those things necessarily. And so our age estimation technology is incredibly accurate and used by Childline to help report and remove those images of children online. We also have Meta. So again, this is like obviously in the masses, they use us for Instagram. And so when someone creates an Instagram account, you might have seen that they now have Instagram teens, so that the experience online is more age appropriate than just if they went onto the generic Instagram platform. And so here, when someone enters their date of birth to create an account, they, as per Instagram's guidance, have to be over 14. And if they're under 18, then they will get, within that age bracket, they will get directed to create a Meta or an Instagram Teens account rather than being able to access the generic version. And so when someone enters their date of birth, we will then also do an age estimation against their facial image. And so this ensures that someone who, is potentially 12 that is trying to access and create an Instagram account can't do that if they've just put in a fake date of birth, for example. So this is kind of one of the ways, again, that our age estimation technology is being used to provide uh, big platforms with the ability to provide more age-appropriate experiences online. And we found as well, it says here, but 81% of users prefer using age estimation to uploading an ID. So, sometimes there's a thought that, oh, actually, I don't want to, take a selfie or whatever, but actually we found that the 81% of users would rather do that. I then also wanted to share a credential, a verifiable credential case study. And so this is whereby you could, get your team or your staff, and again, we've had this with NHS teams as well, whereby they get issued a credential that's against their verified identity. And so that way you can prove, either you've got an online discount, if you've got a particular credential or a member of a certain team, you can use that to access certain areas. And that is a real-time proof of, I guess, identity as well as a credential. And so in order to present this, they'd have to do or in several scenarios that we've built, you do a selfie, a liveness to check that it's actually the beholder of this credential that is also presenting it. Cool. And so just in terms of where we are with this network of people using Yoti, so uh we've had over 20 million users that have downloaded our app over, this is actually out of date now. I think it's more like 8 million in the UK. And we're doing over 1 million age checks every day. So far, we've done 900 million age checks, which is pretty staggering. And so in terms of who is using our services, most of the time, it's a lot of the kind of 18 to 24 cohort who have used our digital ID. Over 20% of the UK population of 18 to 24-year-olds have already done that. We also have quite a spread with people then who are proving their identity for right to work checks or, buying a house, for example. So it is actually, it's not just that very young cohort, it's also spread across the broader ages as well. And so, yeah, the regulatory and legislative landscape is really changing, which is super exciting. You've probably all seen a lot about the Online Safety Act, which has come into force recently. And soon there'll be the mandatory licensing condition change, which is expected in the next few months. Well, next few weeks to then go through Parliament to be enacted. But that's really exciting because it means that you'll be able to use digital ID to buy alcohol or to, if a pub is doing age checks on the door or a club, then you'll be able to use your digital ID to be able to prove that you're over 18. And this is really exciting for us. Cool. These are some of the other areas that are changing as well. So people might have heard of the gov.uk wallet. So GDS, the Government Digital Services, are developing a UK mobile driving license, which again is really exciting because I guess one of the flaws in how someone can prove their identity at the moment is that they would have to digitize essentially a passport or a driving license or some kind of form of physical ID. Obviously, not everyone has those different forms of ID, but that's kind of how you would create a digital ID to a certain regulatory standard. And there are a number of different elements of that process that are vulnerable to fraud. So someone could try and change the mobile driving license. They could create a generative AI liveness that actually depicts someone else that's not them. If they've potentially stolen a genuine ID, there are a number of different ways as to how that process could be vulnerable to fraud. And although we obviously have a huge number of preventions to that in place, you know, it's evolving, it's an ever evolving space, and it's always going to be, we're always fighting that. Whereas with uh, government issued verifiable credentials, those credentials are cryptographically secure. So when someone has been issued a mobile driving license, for example, and they want to share that with a relying party to prove they're over 18, the really exciting thing about that is that you will be able to determine at the point of that share that that ID is cryptographically secure and is genuine. And so it just provides that higher level of assurance, even in low assurance use cases, that that is absolutely the person that you think it is, and they're 100% over 18 or, how whatever age threshold you're trying to prove. So that's a really exciting thing that's coming down the line. Um, you've also got the UK Trust Framework and the DVS Register. This has been around for 6 years, I think now. But again, there's more and more providers that are coming online and getting certified to deliver those services, which is again really exciting to see. Cool. And then I just wanted to raise a little bit about some of the different challenges that we're seeing in the UK and also more broadly. Um, so I think firstly, interoperability. So it's amazing that there are so many different initiatives and standards that are being created around the world. So particularly for digital ID, you've got W3C verifiable credentials, you've got some ISO standards for the mobile driving license, you've got EIDAS, which is the standard in Europe that people might be familiar with. And in the UK, you've got the Digital Attribute Trust Framework. So each one is obviously designed with positive intent, but a lot of them are doing things slightly differently, which obviously makes it then harder for different global solutions to talk to each other, especially if we want people to have seamless experiences across borders, across platforms, then achieving that interoperability means that there either needs to be some kind of translation or we need to agree on some more common principles, not just common technology. There's also the public understanding and kind of the media sentiment. So right now, there's obviously a lot of misinformation online about what digital ID is. I think that people worry about the government overreaching or uh, tending towards more of a surveillance. But I think when digital ID is done right and is done with privacy preserving design and is done in a free, non-mandatory way, then there's absolutely so many benefits that can be reaped from that. So education and transparency is really key to make sure that the public understand what is available to them and that they can then use digital ID to be empowered and not be, tracked and use it how they want to use it. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the ecosystem complexity. So, as more and more people see the benefit of digital ID and more people get involved, you have issuers, so potentially issuers of a physical ID or a digital ID. You've got wallet providers. So Yoti is a wallet provider, but also, Google, for example. You've got relying parties of people that want to digitally receive or verify a digital identity. And so you can see there's the kinds of questions that are coming up are who is liable in this situation X? How is a commercial relationship structured for Y? How do we ensure consistent standards if different issuers have different processes? And so getting that right, I think, really requires collaboration between the regulators, between industry, between technology providers, and it's making sure that everyone understands what their role is in protecting the user and providing that trust ecosystem. And so yeah, I think that's again another challenge that's really important that we get that right. So how is Yoti rising to this challenge? So we have a number of different ways. So firstly, we're certified by governments, which means our technology meets strict security, privacy, and performance standards. And so it's not just necessarily like a badge that we're certified, it really is a signal of trust. And it means that, organizations and users know that we're reliable and and are trustworthy. Um, so we already have millions of users. We've done, over 900 million age checks. I think enabling users to know exactly what's happening in the process and being really transparent is really important. So users understand that we're not sharing their full identity when all they need to do is prove their age. So we're enabling that verification without oversharing. And that then also works for the relying parties because they don't want a whole host of data that they, don't want to store this personal information, and then they have, data requirements that they need to meet. Looking ahead, we're really focused on interoperability and making sure that our solutions are aligned with the ISO standards, other digital wallet protocols, which means that whatever digital ID the user has, whether that's a European identity, whether it's a US MDL, they can then share that proof of identity with us and we can verify it on behalf of a relying party. So it just really, we're really focusing on making sure that the user has that choice of whatever ID they want to use, so that then we can act on behalf of the relying parties to in a trustworthy and privacy preserving way, accept that identity for them. And then this is just I wanted to give a little spice of what we're a little bit of flavor as to what we're doing and what we're working on at the moment. So one of the key challenges is in digital environments is knowing who you're really dealing with online. So especially if you're, potentially sending someone money, if you're in a video call with someone, I think we've all heard of like, where parents get a message saying, it's your son, can you send me this amount of money? And so we have worked with Zoom and we've got a Zoom integration so that we make it really simple for people to prove during a live video call like this, who you are, and so that you can be confident that I'm presenting to you and not someone else trying to weasel their way in. And there are multiple ways that attendees can verify themselves. So they could use a digital ID, they could use a liveness check, they could do a quick selfie authentication. And so even for some of the higher assurance use cases, if it was, potentially a financial transaction or something like that, then you can use a government approved proof of identity, which just gives you that extra layer of trust. So yeah, that's something that we're really excited about launching. I'm conscious of time, which is handy because I'm coming to my last slide. So this is just a little bit about us. Again, if people have questions, feel free to reach out, or I don't think we've got time now, but yeah, thank you so much for listening. And yeah, it's a very exciting time. So I'm sure you'll see a lot more of digital identity and age assurance in the media and online.